Yo, what's going on, everybody? MrHereticC here. Today we are here to talk about the Foundry battles in Whiteout Survival. This was my first one, and basically just going over what I learned and a couple of tips I picked up along the way of learning it. So we're just gonna give it a little breakdown, see if we can't help some people out, because there's not a lot out there, and if you were like me, brand new to the game and had no idea what was going on, and you didn't get an ally that, you know, kind of laid it out, you might not want to take part of this. And this is actually really fun. I had a good time messing with it. Big shout out to the opposing team. If you can see that bar at the top, 18 to 4. At some point we got 20 to 6. So they were just wildly outnumbered and did not really stand a chance, but they stayed in and, you know, put up a fight and kept trying for the most part. So, you know, big shout out to them for that. So Foundry's basically a battlefield that they've set up. There's 11 different buildings, and the basic premise is you take the buildings, you gather points, and the team with the most points at the end wins. So the start, two teams are at opposite edges. One side's on the left, one side's on the right, opposing each other. You get a 2-minute timer, and that's, you know, nothing can happen. You're just looking around, so you can get a lay of the land, see where everything is, figure out where you're going and what you need to do. At that end of the 2 minutes, battle starts. At that point, you can teleport your city wherever you want on the map, and you can do this once every 5 minutes. So basically, people are moving to the different buildings to take them. Once your city is in place, you have to garrison the building, and then you'll end up fighting over the building, trying to get control of it. Once you get control of it, the points will start stacking. So this is where you get into what the different buildings are and what the buildings do. And this is pretty important, because some of these are buffs and some of these are basically just points. So they definitely work differently. But you got a total of 11 buildings. They're either buff buildings, repair facilities, prototype sites, main facilities, and then there's the Imperial Foundry. The buff buildings are going to be your boiler room, transit station, mercenary camp, munitions warehouse. The boiler room, which is important, reduces the time it takes to control a facility by 50%. The transit station, which is super important, reduces the cooldown for the teleport by 50%. So instead of 5 minutes, you can go every 2.5 minutes. The mercenary camp and the munitions warehouse for attack buffs. Repair facilities just help repair foundry equipment. They'll generate moderate points. The buff buildings, they're going to generate low points. They're all about the buffs. The prototype buildings are going to produce the most points out of all the various different kinds of buildings, except for the Imperial Foundry. The Imperial Foundry is in the middle of the map. It produces the largest amount of points and is probably the most important thing to hold. So just real quick, because they've got a couple pictures set up on this Discord. This is the map, and you get to start on either end. And then boiler room, transit station, both the prototype buildings. The repair facilities are kind of spread around. Workshops will pop up, they're spread around. Mercenary camp, munition warehouse, and then the Imperial Foundry in the middle. And the whole point is going to be juggling control, getting control, keeping, and gathering points. They actually laid out priorities for these. And your prototype buildings are priority 1. They produce the most points. They have a huge bonus for taking them first. Everything gets a bonus for being taken first in the battle. So people go for the prototypes generally first. Transit station second. That's just because of the teleportation. I mean, it cuts in half the time you need, the time it takes for the recharge, so you can teleport your city around. That just makes you more mobile, and that's good. And then priority 3 being the boiler room, because of the cut down on how long it takes to actually capture different points. And then priority 4, they've put repair facilities. And this is where tip number 1 is going to come in. Tip number 1 is, if you can avoid it, do not use your speed ups on heals at all, except in Foundry. In Foundry, we're battling over these buildings, and like your troops won't die, but they will get severely injured. You will have to heal them, and unlike healing in the rest of the game, you can't get help with this. So you start them healing, and then you have your timer, and that's just it. Normally you can get ally help, and if you have a big ally, that can actually get you through heals really quickly, and you won't need speed ups. Here, you don't have that option. So you really, tip number 1, you want to hold all your heal speed ups until Foundry time, because this is where you're going to use them to try and make yourself as effective as possible to keep you in the fight. Because once these troops get damaged and they're healing, you're out, and there's not anything you can do. So here we're fighting over the boiler room right here, and you can see one of the cities is on fire. So the burn time on cities is much faster. You can put it out, and if you don't, it sends you back to the spawn point. If your garrison wall burns down to 0, that'll send you back to the spawn point, and then you'll have to wait for the cooldown on the teleport to be able to come back out. Side note, if you do lose your armies and you can't literally do anything, there is technically the option to leave the battlefield. Big warning on that. Big warning. If you leave the battlefield, you cannot come back until 12 minutes later. So if you leave the battlefield with 10 minutes left on the match, you're out. That's it. It's done for you. But once you leave the battlefield, you can heal like normal again, which means you can use your ally to help you. So there is that, and I mean, if you have the time, and then you can come back in and make the difference in the battle. So there is technically a point to that, but you just got to be careful with it, because how long it takes to get back in. I'm trying to see. So another important point is going to be the Imperial Foundry. This is where you're more likely to win the game if you have that big building in the center of the map. It does not open until until 15 minutes has passed. So like right now we're at 48 minutes. We got 3 minutes and 40 seconds until the Imperial Foundry opens. And then a bunch of guys actually teleport over there, and they did a fantastic job holding that. We managed to hold it. When you have a facility, you start stacking points. I wish I'd see a facility that has some points over it. Like that. That one had it right there. See, that facility stacking points. Well, now if the enemy goes to that facility and hits it, all those points get scattered around the facility in little caches that everyone can go and pick up. So, like, it's important to note, and actually, you know, tip number 2, just something to keep in mind. You see that score at top. Right now, we're 45,000 to 5,000. That is not the score. Tip number 2 is don't get complacent, because that's not the actual score. That is how many points you have gathered. But if someone goes to that one of those other facilities, like that one we looked at earlier, it had 4,000 points in it. If someone hits that building, we just lost 4,000 points. And then they get scattered around the map. And then everyone can go and gather them, and whoever gets them actually gets those points permanently. And just real quick, that's what it looks like. You know, this building, it got switched out, and then you got these loot caches. Those are all the points you were gathering in that building that just got thrown to the ground that anyone can pick up. And until you pick them back up, you've just lost them. So that score can be deceiving, and you have to make sure to keep an eye on your facilities as far as you're juggling them when they take them, if they take them, and making sure to pick up the scattered points that get thrown around, because otherwise you'll lose everything. There are personal points as well, along with the alliance points, that you will earn when you are playing, and there will be an MVP at the end of the round. So, you know, if you want to do that, you do have to get the personal points. However, if you focus on personal points, that can actually screw you up from getting alliance points. You may not help out as much. It may, you know, cause you to lose. So there's a balance to it. But attacking and defending is where you earn points. You get 40 points for every 10,000 power of troops that you defeat in defense. And you get 80 points for every 10,000 power of troops you defeat on offense. So obviously being an offensive player and knocking people out of stuff is a good way to play if you want to stack your personal points. But that will not help your alliance win in the point. So unless, or, you know, as far as points go, so unless that's a part of the strategy, you know, that's something to keep in mind. And that's really basically the rundown. It's not too terribly complicated once you figure out what everything does and what it's doing. It's really fun. It's something different to do. It does require some time and some sitting down, but once you get the gist of it, it's not hard. It's fun to play. You just gotta, you know, figure it out. But there isn't much more to it other than that. It's at this point it's strategy, and then, you know, alliance. In instance, just in this case, you know, there's someone in our battlefield that's, you know, marking things, giving, like you can see down here, she's, you know, take note. She's putting markers for where people should go, what we should focus on, where there are problems. So, you know, there's someone kind of coordinating. We had 19 people versus their 6, 20 people versus their 6. There's just having an alliance actually, you know, makes it that's going to play it, that can sit down, because it does take some time, and then someone that coordinates and knows what's going on. That sort of stuff makes a difference. But getting in there so you can figure it out and kind of get an idea of what's going on, you know, get in there and have some fun. Foundry is pretty fun. That is the gist of it, though. So we're gonna cut it there. I hope this helps. If it did, anyone like, subscribe, you know, press some of those buttons, throw those thumbs up. And then if you got any questions, or, you know, anything that you want to know, I mean, you can post that in the comments. Any ideas for something like you would like to see a video of explaining, you know, X, Y, or Z, whatever, you know, throw it up there. Anyone that hung out and checked it out, do appreciate it. Y'all have a good one. Deuces.